could you give us just a rough draft of a Scott Adams dating advice tips? So something that would go a little bit different than what's traditionally said. Just
Yeah.
wondering if you had any ad- general
Okay.
tips.
So first, keep in mind that it's been 20 or 30 years since I had to deal with that sort of thing. Because I've either been famous or rich, and that just changes everything. So I'm not a person with successful dating experience outside of getting rich and famous, and then that makes everything easy, right?
Sure, it's
And then
conflated.
I was married for years, et cetera, et cetera. But I will give you the best advice you've ever heard on
I'm ready.
dating. Here it goes. Uh, Number one, there is not one soulmate for you. It's not a coincidence that most people end up falling in love and getting married with whoever the heck they're working with or running into or their neighbor or whatever. So the people in your environment are perfectly acceptable for falling in love with. You don't have to meet your one soulmate who was born in the other side of the world. So don't wait for your soulmate. There's probably one nearby. That's the first thing. So you
That's
don't need to
convenient.
be obsessed if there's one that you want who doesn't want you back. So that's the first thing. Do not be obsessed on this one person who doesn't want you back. That's a bad bet. So learn how to cut your losses and move to the next one. Number two, I believe, and this is not a radical thought. This would be a fairly popular statement for anybody who's got a scientific outlook on life. We are biological entities that are primarily involved with reproduction. We care mostly about preserving the species, even if our brains are not rationally thinking of it in those ways. So everything that you do all day, the choices you make, almost everything you do, is greatly influenced by the dating mating impulse that we all have. For example, the simple act of making more money or trying to be successful is really a way to signal your genetic capability. It's a way to make you more of a mateable person.
Right.
Likewise, if you're good at sports or you work on your appearance, it's all related to your mating impulse. And so, here's the best advice you'll ever get. Put yourself in a situation where you can be better than other people, whatever it is. It could be you join the bocce league. Well, that's maybe not too manly, but uh, let's say there's a particular sport you're good at. Make sure that you can do it in a way, or people learn of it, in a way that your signaling of your genetic capability gets to the people you're trying to impress. So, for example, I once played on a co-ed soccer team, an indoor co-ed soccer team.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not that good at soccer. So there was no, and I wasn't single at the time, so this doesn't really apply to me. But if I had been in a dating mode, it would not have been a good look to go out on the soccer field and be one of the less good players playing soccer. But if I had been one of the better players on a co-ed team, the odds of one of those women who were part of that sport saying, "Hey, I like soccer, and this guy is really good at soccer," suddenly there would be there would be some attraction that was not sensible and didn't it wasn't a check the box kind of thing. There would just be a natural chemical attraction to anybody who's good at anything. It doesn't have to be sports. So you could be extra good at your career. You could be good at a hobby. You could be good at something. But you want to signal, however you can do it, you want to signal your genetic superiority, even if it's not true. You could, for example, practice until you're one of the best at something, and it might only be the fact that you practiced and other people didn't. Maybe that's why you're good at it. But it will seem the same to somebody observing. An observer who sees you being really good at anything, whether it's intellectual, whether it's social, whether it's physical, whatever it is, they will read you as a good genetic catch, something that would be good for the gene pool, and that would activate their irrational attraction to you. It's the
Right.
reason that all celebrities are attractive, all sports people are attractive. They're just responding to people at a base level. So do that. And then, of course, the most obvious things are work on your fitness and your appearance. And the thing that you can most control would be your haircut and your physical fitness, your actual muscularity, if you're a man especially, and dress right, and especially wear above average shoes. Here's some of the best advice you'll ever get. If you wear better shoes than the other people at the party, you're the most attractive man at the party. Now, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, right? But all things being equal, it's a tiebreaker. A
Right.
woman's going to go with a guy with the good shoes because the shoes are a signal. They're a
Hmm.
signal about a lot about you. I got to say that for most of my early life, I was of the impression, the stupid impression, that I didn't care what I wore because, hey, I'm not picky about what I wear. And I even wore bad shoes to work. I
Yeah.
had some scuffed up shoes. And one day when I was early 20s and I was working for a bank, the senior vice president of the bank, who was literally 6'9", I think, it's this monster of a man, and he was big, scary, top executive of the bank. And he summoned me to his office, and I'm like, oh God, I'm in trouble, because he was like maybe 3 levels above me,
Ooh.
above my boss.
Mhm.
And I go in there, and he said, I want to talk to you about your shoes. And he goes, your shoes are like embarrassing. You need to get new shoes because they were scuffed up. And I tried to make a joke, and I was like, haha, maybe if you gave me a raise, I could afford better shoes. And he just stared at me, and like he didn't even answer, and like there was no laugh, and he just looked at me, and then I said, I'm going to get some new shoes.
Yep.
And then I walked out and immediately after work got some new shoes. Now, when I originally looked at that situation, I felt it was quite an overreaction. I felt he was sort of intruding in an area that wasn't really his domain. He's a senior vice president,
Sure.
and he was calling in somebody several levels below him to talk about their footwear.
Right.
Right? It seemed ridiculous. Now I'm older. Now I understand how the world works a little bit.
Hmm.
I was part of his brand because I was in his group, and
Right.
I was ruining his brand, and he fixed it. Right? So people are influenced by footwear far more than you will ever imagine. So get yourself some interesting footwear and new footwear, and be good at something, and make sure that your physical fitness is on point. Those are the things you can control. How'd I do?
That was solid.